Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast and increase your financial wisdom. You will find episodes about investments, the infinite banking concept, how to fight inflation, the financial side of retirement, and financial questions Jesse asked his girlfriend. Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast on any podcast platform or watch it on YouTube. There are new episodes of the Wealth Talks podcast weekly. Search for Wealth Talks podcast online and subscribe for free.
My friends, do you smoke, vape, or chew tobacco? If so, Knick Knack Naturals is here to help you crush your vice. Knick Knacks are nicotine mints that completely dissolve in your mouth. No smoke, no spit, no mess. This product is only for folks currently using nicotine products who are looking for a better alternative. Visit knickknack.com and use promo code Todd to save 15%. That's NICNAC, knickknack.com, promo code Todd.
Attention, you're listening to the Todd Huff Radio Show, America's home for conservative, not bitter talk radio. Be advised that the content of this program has been documented to prevent and even cure liberalism, and listening may cause you to lean to the right. Here's your conservative, but not bitter host, Todd Huff.
Well, that is right, my friends. You have tuned in to America's home for conservative, not bitter talk. I am your host, the one and the only Todd Huff. It's my true pleasure to be here. Email, should you want to be part of the conversation, todd@toddhuffshow.com, or if you would rather, 317-210-2830. Texting is how you can get me there. Just make sure you make it count, my friends, and use the appropriate amounts of adoration and praise, which I got to tell you is a lot more than you might first think. I'm kidding. Take it easy out there. All right, tonight is it's not the State of the Union, but it is the State of the Union. We'll talk a little bit briefly about that. Why is it not considered the State of the Union? It's really more for historical purposes, or I guess details of how things have been handled in the past than anything, but we'll hit on that. We'll talk about what we might expect from Trump this evening. We'll talk about tariffs a little bit. Tariffs are now in full force in regards to Mexico and Canada. Of course, we've got China tariffs as well. I'm going to talk a little bit about tariffs. Have you wondered why conservatives like myself, like many of you, why we are more understanding about tariffs than we are about inflation? I want to talk a little bit about that, compare and contrast. I've got a bunch of stuff in the stack of stuff, which, by the way, you can always get. You can get links to the things we're talking about, or listen to audio clips or whatever of anything that we reference on this program at toddhuffshow.com. Just go to the stack. And that's, of course, in recognition, in honor of the late, great Rush Limbaugh, who used to have his daily stack of stuff, physical papers back in the day. Today, we've got it all electronically on the website for you to check out. All right, so that's where we're headed. This, the first of a 2-hour program. But I'll tell you this, my friends, before we get rocking and rolling here, let us talk about sleep for a moment. If you're tossing and turning at night, it's time to make a change. And MyPillow may very well be the solution. Their patented pillows are game changers, but they've also got luxurious towels. They've got cozy slippers. And they've got a whole lot more. It's not just comfort, it's quality that you can trust. And here, my friends, is the best part. MyPillow products are made right here in the good old US of A. This will be very relevant when we talk about tariffs and all that sort of stuff here later in the program. So when you buy from MyPillow, you're not just investing in a better night's sleep. You're supporting American jobs and American values. That's something that we can all get behind. So all you got to do is go to mypillow.com, use promo code Todd, and you will get discounts on, I'm going to say every product. I suppose there could be some that aren't discounted, but I think it's every product. Check it out. Let me know if I'm wrong about that. Promo code is Todd, by the way. Don't wait. Your best sleep ever is just a click away. MyPillow.com, promo code Todd. Sleep like a patriot, my friend, with MyPillow.com, promo code Todd. All right, so let us start here with tonight's State of the Union address. Now, I want to briefly mention it's not the State of the Union. I do know that I am a bit of a nerd. I have followed this stuff since I was a teenager. Obviously follow it more now than I did then, but I've always had an interest. I've always had an interest in these issues, in these topics, and in politics in general. So I've watched a lot of these, studied a lot of these. Some of these we talked about or did things with in school and so forth. But some of them I just I've watched for my own understanding and to talk about them on here with you. So, but it's not technically a State of the Union. Now, what is the State of the Union? So if you look at the Constitution says that from time to time, the chief executive, the president of the United States, who's the head of the executive branch, will give basically updates to Congress on or in regards to the State of the Union. And so while there's no defined time frame within the Constitution, it just basically says, I don't know the exact phrase, but from time to time, these updates are necessary. Now, there have been historically examples of some of these States of the Union, State of the Union addresses that have been given in a written format. I believe Washington and Adams did theirs. They spoke in front of Congress. But Jefferson, I believe, wrote his. I don't know if he wrote all of them, but I think he wrote some of them. So anyway, so there is a constitutional precedent. There is a historical precedent that these became effectively speeches that would be given annually, at least in modern times. And we come to expect these in January, February, or now we're into early March. Traditionally, it was January, at least when that's typically what I recall. January, maybe into February. Biden pushed his out into March. I think the Biden administration was hoping you forgot that he was supposed to give a speech on something. We all know he did. But anyway, I'm just teasing. We need a sense of humor about things. But anyway, so the reality is that we've come to accept or expect these things this time of year, but it's not a State of the Union because, and I'm looking here, this is at time.com. Here's what it says. According to another CRS report, some presidents, quote, have chosen not to deliver a State of the Union address in the last January before they depart office. From office, I should say, or in the year they were inaugurated. So State of the Union addresses are given annually. That's now what we've come to expect. They're invited by the Speaker of the House to address both chambers to give a State of the Union address. But presidents don't typically do their first, the State of the Union right after their inauguration, or oftentimes they don't do it when they're outgoing as well. So that leaves a hole right here, right? Because Biden is not president. Trump is president, but he's only been president for, 6 weeks now. And so I think the idea here is that you're supposed to give an update to Congress regarding the State of the Union as you have impacted it. Trump is still, in a manner of speaking, getting acclimated. Technically, historically, we're still in this time period where Trump is in what we normally would call the honeymoon phase, which is when America, it's a little bit different for Trump because he's been elected previously, but it's non-consecutive terms. Anyway, historically, the first 100 days of a president's term, first term in particular, it's called the honeymoon phase, where there's just kind of a get-to-know-you period, trying to look at the priorities of the incoming administration, meet the people who have been confirmed to the cabinet picks, get to know the first lady, what her agenda is going to be, all that kind of stuff. Style, decoration, that kind of stuff historically has been what's happened during these first few months. But that's, of course, never been the case with Trump. In fact, they want to impeach Trump pretty much the day he's sworn in both times. So the point is that Trump hasn't been running the government. So to give an update on what's happened in, say, the past 12 months really doesn't fall under the purview of this president because he's fixing the mess of what's been going on. Now, that being said, State of the Union addresses are largely today looking forward. They're setting the agenda, they're setting the policies, they're setting the tone, all of that sort of stuff for the year. What they would like Congress to do. These are speeches that are typically hour, 15 minutes, hour and a half, something like that. And they are designed to kind of lay the expectations or to set the political agenda for the upcoming year. So in that sense, that's why I say it's effectively the same thing. But I do want to read this here, from Time really quickly. It says, beginning up, not in 1981. I paused and said a lot of things from the last thing I read, but basically the last thing I read talked about how a newly inaugurated president typically doesn't give a State of the Union address. In 1981, outgoing President Jimmy Carter delivered a written message to Congress on January 16th, and newly inaugurated President Ronald Reagan delivered an oral address to a joint session of Congress on February 18th. But Reagan started a new tradition. His inauguration year speech to Congress explicitly was not a State of the Union address. So Jimmy Carter gave a State of the Union address prior to his departing office. Ronald Reagan wanted to set the agenda, so it wasn't so much a, constitutionally speaking, a State of the Union address as much as it was a political priorities list for the Reagan administration. And so that became the precedent. And so that's kind of where we are today. I just find that interesting. So I wanted to share that and to also go through here what I expect or what we can expect tonight during this inauguration. And I will do that, my friends, here in just a moment. But let's talk really quickly about seafood. And I'm not talking any seafood. I'm talking wild-caught Alaskan seafood from Kenai Fish. These folks are the real deal when it comes to seafood. Their salmon comes from the pristine waters of the Kenai and Castle Bluff rivers. We're talking sockeye, coho, and king salmon, all vacuum sealed and shipped out next day air to lock in that fresh, just caught flavor. But it's not just salmon. They've got halibut with its mild, sweet flavor and shellfish like king crab, snow crab, and scallops that'll make you feel like royalty. Kenai Fish is family-owned, and they care about quality as much as you care about what's on your dinner table. Go to KenaiFish.com today. That's KENAI Fish.com. Use promo code Todd, and you'll save 15% off your order. That's KENAIFish.com. You'll taste the difference, and you'll be supporting a company that shares your values. All right, so what do we expect tonight here? What do we expect from not the State of the Union, but the State of the Union for practical purposes? Well, I think we should first expect a little bit of a celebration. The border is now secure. In fact, you probably have seen that border encounters are down 94%. 94% from where they were in February of 2024. So if you compare the month, year over year, right, month over month from year 2024 to year 2025, you will find that border encounters. So these are the people that have come across the border that ICE, or I guess Customs and Border Patrol, would actually run into an encounter crossing the border. Those numbers have dropped 94%. I want to camp here for just a minute. You might hear some of this stuff discussed tonight. I don't know. But the first thing I want to say to you is something I've mentioned before, but I think it's important to remember these things because it is easy to forget we quickly forget how things can change dramatically, and we lose a little bit of we forget, I guess, the realities of what life was like under the current or the previous administration. And the reality is that there was an administration that had no interest in securing the border. And I say that, listen, this is never personal for me. I don't want to attack Biden personally. I don't care. I don't think that they're good people. I know their ideas are horrible. They're dangerous for this country. I'm skeptical of a lot of the things that have happened in the Biden administration even when he was vice president, in the Obama administration. I'm skeptical. I'm concerned. I think that there's a lot of smoke to believe that there's likely a fire regarding some inappropriate behavior with Hunter Biden, his laptop, the scandal, the family business, the Biden so-called crime family. That's why I call President Joe Biden President Bribery. It's just to remind us that was a real thing. And there is evidence to suggest that that sort of thing was happening. He's not been, of course, convicted or anything like that, but there certainly is evidence to suggest that that is something that very well may have been going on. So I'm not here to, get into the personal side of this, but the reality is that is what I believe to be true, or at least there's evidence to support an investigation into that. But that aside, my personal preferences, my personal skepticism, or even belief that this former administration was doing some shady things at best and some downright terrible things at worst, the reality is that he was still in office. He was still in power, and he did not use his power appropriately. In fact, we talked about this a lot on this program. Biden said that the problem with the border needed to be solved by Congress. Now, I'm not saying Congress shouldn't do anything. I'm not here to argue for a king, but I am here to say that the President of the United States is the chief enforcer of the law and of the Constitution. And the previous administration completely abdicated their responsibility. They did not do anything to secure the southern border. In fact, they made it dramatically worse. Dramatically worse. In fact, the things that they did within the first days, hours, days, weeks, undid virtually everything that Trump and his team did in his first administration to secure the southern border. That was totally annihilated immediately by Biden. They were out there bragging about this in February or whatever, March of 2021, saying that they undid everything Trump did regarding Remain in Mexico policy, catch and release policy, all this sort of stuff. And it made things dramatically worse. I mean, the border had never been in a worse position than it was under President Joseph Robinette Bribery. And now we can see that he had the power all along to fix this because Trump, within a matter of weeks, effectively shut off 94% of the illegal, 94%. This is what happens when we have a serious president who really wants to enforce the law and secure our border and make sure that we are not being subjected to some of the dangers that come along with that. Things like fentanyl, things like gangs, things like trafficking, violent criminals that come across, all of that stuff. 94% decrease, and we are going to see a little bit, I think, of a celebration about that. Trump wants to point out, and he should, and it's necessary. I'm pointing it out here, but it's necessary for people to understand that actions have consequences. The people that we put into office determines what actually happens in this country. And as I said before, and some people get so, they just don't want to see this. They definitely don't want to hear this. They don't want to admit this. But there are people, quite literally, I'm not going to mention names because I don't want to make it personal like that to the families or personal to overly emotionalize this. But the reality is that there are people who are not with us today, people whose lives have been taken that would have been with us had the Biden administration done the things regarding border security that Trump has done. And so that's an important thing here. Biden could have done this at any moment in time. Trump will celebrate this a little bit tonight. Also, I'm going to look at an article here really quickly, checking the time here. Trump may also mention stuff like this. Headline in the Federalist. I'm not predicting he'll mention this specifically, but when it comes to the things that Trump has accomplished in 6 weeks, you can add things like this to the list. Headline here, the Federalist. Connecticut cannot refute estimate showing it spent $1.3 billion, that's billion with a B, on illegal immigration in 1 year. So Connecticut was, they've actually refused to do research into how much illegal immigration has cost the state. And so another group called the Federation for American Immigration Reform, FAIR, FAIR, they did research on their own. They reported that illegal immigration, I'm reading from this article here, cost the state of Connecticut $1.3 billion, billion with a B. These are state budgets. These are state expenses in 2023. Meanwhile, between 113,000 and 225,000 migrants who currently live in the state receive services including medical care, in-state tuition, incarceration, legal services, shelter, and welfare. Now, the governor, Ned Lamont, disputed the $1.3 billion number. Connecticut Attorney General William Tong resorted to ad hominem, again, I'm reading from this article at the Federalist, calling the report a, quote, big, fat, dishonest, ugly, racist, hateful lie. Yet, as the article points out, state leaders cannot produce a number of their own. In truth, the $1.3 billion is entirely plausible, and it is a significant sum of taxpayers' money. This is inexcusable. It's unbelievable, but this is the reality that states and cities, your community has faced because of illegal immigration. And even though they're going to dispute the number, they can't tell you what it is. They just know that it's not that much. How they know that, I have no idea. They just don't want to accept it as their reality, so they're going to dispute it. But the reality is, this is the only number we have because they don't even want to give their residents in the state of Connecticut a number because who knows, it might even be more than that. I don't know. But the point here is that Trump may take a moment to do a little bit of celebration. Now, he's also going to make some bold predictions, and I'll get into that in the next segment because I'm out of time here at the first segment, my friends. So sit tight. You are listening here to the home of conservative, not bitter talk. I should remind you, my friends, my vast team of attorneys has asked me to remind you that listening to this program may cause you to lean to the right. So exercise extreme caution today, my friends. If you are driving, if you're operating heavy machinery, I think if you're walking down the hallway carrying a glass of water, just be careful. You'll find yourself veering and leaning to the right. Quick time out, though, my friends. Back here in just a minute.
Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast and increase your financial wisdom. You will find episodes about investments, the infinite banking concept, how to fight inflation, the financial side of retirement, and financial questions Jesse asked his girlfriend. Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast on any podcast platform or watch it on YouTube. There are new episodes of the Wealth Talks podcast weekly. Search for Wealth Talks podcast online and subscribe for free.
My friends, do you smoke, vape, or chew tobacco? If so, Knick Knack Naturals is here to help you crush your vice. Knick Knacks are nicotine mints that completely dissolve in your mouth. No smoke, no spit, no mess. This product is only for folks currently using nicotine products who are looking for a better alternative. Visit knickknack.com and use promo code Todd to save 15%. That's NICNAC, knickknack.com, promo code Todd. Looking for the ultimate natural health supplement? Z-Stack is a trusted brand formulated by Dr. Zelenko with clinically proven ingredients and proudly manufactured in the USA. Z-Stack is the choice of true patriots who want to fight against the corrupt medical system. Go to zstacklife.com/Todd and use code Todd at checkout to save 15% off your purchase. Z-Stack, empowering you to stay prepared, stay safe, and stay strong. Welcome back, my friends. So, going to continue discussing what we might expect tonight at President Trump's. It's not the State of the Union address, but it pretty much is. So, we're going to discuss that here in this segment. So, what do we expect? I expect some bold predictions. I expect some bold predictions about Trump and what he expects to do regarding the size of the government, the cost to operate this government, the federal government of the United States of America. I expect to hear about how they're going to reduce it. They're going to change the scope. They're going to change the mission. He's going to probably reference some of the things that happened to him under the previous administration. Lawfare, cutting the federal bureaucracy down to size, eliminating the political targeting of those who are of a different political persuasion than the party in power. So I expect to hear a lot about that, and we should. We should hear about some of the objectives of DOGE. We should hear about some of the waste, some of the fraud, some of the abuse. In fact, I wasn't sure if I wanted to play this. I think I do. I think I do want to play this. This is from a news report in San Antonio, Texas. And it's a short news report, but I want to share it with you because it illustrates some of the things that are being uncovered by DOGE. Now, I want to tell you, you're going to hear from the left. You're going to hear them either defend this, excuse this, tell you that there's additional context that is missing. But I'll let you decide for yourself if you find this to be acceptable sort of things for your federal government to be funding to the tune of $18 million a month. $18 million a month in San Antonio. Listen to this report.
Which has targeted a nonprofit based here in San Antonio, saying its contract for $215 million a year is canceled. News 4 San Antonio I-Team Waste Watch reporter Jay Avila has this story live from the Content Center.
Mandy, in a post on X, DOGE said the Department of Health and Human Services had terminated a contract paying Family Endeavors $18 million a month to operate an empty facility in West Texas.
Empty facility.
The organization is also known as Endeavors, and you may have seen its administrative headquarters and wellness center on De Zavala Road, where it has a cluster of buildings and storefronts. DOGE focused on an overflow housing facility for migrant families Endeavors operates in Pecos, Texas, which DOGE says has been sitting empty, while Endeavors has been receiving the $18 million per month. Homeland Security reposted DOGE's X post, tagging U.S. Attorney Ed Martin with the words, "Please investigate," to which Martin responded, "Duly noted. We are on
Duly
it."
Noted.
I went to Endeavor's San Antonio headquarters today to get a comment from the organization. They responded late this afternoon by email. Endeavors was responsible for maintaining operational readiness at the Pecos shelter, ensuring the ability to scale from cold status, operationally ready but not actively serving children, to full use of 3,000 beds as needed. Decisions regarding facility use and migrant sheltering locations were made by the federal government, not Endeavors. Any claims of corruption or mismanagement are baseless. Doge also claims Endeavors received its HHS contract in 2021 after a former ICE employee and Biden transition team member joined the nonprofit.
Well, looky there.
Endeavor's government disclosure forms show its revenues shot up in 2021 from $50 million to $658 million, reaching a peak of $1.1 billion in 2022.
I mean, this is incredible.
Elon Musk.
So there's that's the sort of thing. Now, I'm sure there's going to be someone who's going to fact check this and tell you, oh, this isn't really that bad. They had to maintain operational readiness in case they needed to house the 3,000 migrants or whatever. And so justifying $18 million a month for an empty building. So Trump is probably, he may not talk about this. He might talk specifically about, who knows, but he's going to give examples. He's going to talk about the waste. At best, this is waste. At worst, this is fraud. At worst. And so that is something that Trump is going to talk about. He's going to talk about, again, reducing the size of government, reducing the government's ability to be weaponized against political opponents. He's going to talk about getting rid of people in the government who are not working for the American people. By the way, that's something that gets lost in all of this. I've never been a fan. Look, I was raised in a union family. I'm not individually, I don't know that I would ever want to join a union. I'm not against the concept. What I'm against is when people, when a business is forced into doing a union if they don't, or having union workers if they don't want to. What I'm against, even more so than that, is the federal workforce unionizing, because when they unionize, who are they unionizing against, my friends? They're unionizing against the taxpayer, the American people. There's no risk to these workers. The idea that they should unionize against the threat of the American taxpayer, to me, is preposterous. And I'm not, listen, I know some folks are strongly anti-union or strongly pro-union. I think people should make up their own minds. Companies and workers can figure that out among themselves. But this idea of federal unions unionizing the American, the federal workforce against the American taxpayer, to me is absolutely bananas and preposterous. So these are the sorts of things. That we're going to be looking at, and it's part of the reason, or maybe even the main reason, that they've unionized is to prevent themselves from losing their jobs. And friends, there is a time. Look, you might be a good worker, but the position might not be justified, or there might be too many people doing it, or there might be multiple agencies involved in something. It's called duplicity of services. There's a whole bunch of reasons as to why we might need to reduce the size and scope of the federal workforce. And I think we're just getting started as to what that should actually look like. And I think Trump is truly going to radically try to change what this looks like. And for good reason, for absolutely good reason. Of course, you don't want to, the inability for the people who just defend all federal workers at all costs to see nuance or want to hear about context is crazy to me. I mean, we are paying for this. We have the right as taxpayers to say, we don't want to pay for these jobs. We don't want the federal government doing this. In fact, you read the founding document of this great nation, it says, we the people on it. We the people elect leaders to run our government. We elected Donald J. Trump to effectively clean house. And that is what he's doing. He's going to talk about that tonight. He's going to make bold predictions about what else he's going to do in the days and weeks and months and years to come. And we're just 6 weeks in. In fact, I would maintain that in 6 weeks, President Trump accomplished more, certainly, than Biden did in his first year. And that's, so in one sense, Trump is completely qualified to give a State of the Union address because he's accomplished more in 6 weeks than President Biden did, not just Biden, others as well, but accomplished more for the sake of the American people, for the sake of our future, for the sake of our liberty, for the sake of our wallets than many presidents accomplish in an entire 4-year term. So expect to hear about those things tonight, my friends, Elon also has, I'm just going to reference this article's in the stack of stuff if you want to read it, but Elon has made reference about how George Soros's nonprofits have been leeching off the U.S. taxpayer. So I think those were comments made on Joe Rogan's podcast. Anyway, you can read that if you would like. It's on the stack of stuff. I don't have time to get into it right now, but these are things that we can expect from tonight's State of the Union address. Friends, if you're in sales, let me ask you something. Are you where you want to be? Whether you're struggling to close deals or just want to sharpen your skills, Matt Easton and Easton University, they are here to help. And we've got a unique opportunity for you. Matt Easton will personally jump on a call with you if you become a member of Easton University. This is exclusive to you, a listener of this program. He'll take the time to walk through your specific sales challenges and help you get on track. This training, this coaching is not a cookie cutter training. It's a personalized coaching system from one of the best in the business. If you follow Matt's system, it will pay off. I'm telling you, I've seen it personally. It's a great system. I love this stuff. I truly do. But you've got to take the first step, my friends. Visit sales.toddhuffshow.com right now to claim your one-on-one call with Matt Easton when you become a member of Easton, a student of Easton University. That's sales.toddhuffshow.com. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Invest in yourself. You are worth it. By the way, this could be for individuals or for sales teams. I've got to take a time out, my friends. Sit tight. You're listening here to Conservative, Not Better Talk. I am your host, Todd Huff, back here in just a minute.
Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast and increase your financial wisdom. You will find episodes about investments, the infinite banking concept, how to fight inflation, the financial side of retirement, and financial questions Jesse asked his girlfriend. Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast on any podcast platform or watch it on YouTube. There are new episodes of the Wealth Talks podcast weekly. Search for Wealth Talks podcast online and subscribe for free.
My friends, do you smoke, vape, or chew tobacco? If so, Knick Knack Naturals is here to help you crush your vice. Knick Knacks are nicotine mints that completely dissolve in your mouth. No smoke, no spit, no mess. This product is only for folks currently using nicotine products who are looking for a better alternative. Visit knickknack.com and use promo code Todd to save 15%. That's NICNAC, knickknack.com, promo code Todd. Looking for the ultimate natural health supplement? Z-Stack is a trusted brand formulated by Dr. Zelenko with clinically proven ingredients and proudly manufactured in the USA. Z-Stack is the choice of true patriots who want to fight against the corrupt medical system. Go to zstacklife.com/Todd and use code Todd at checkout to save 15% off your purchase. Z-Stack, empowering you to stay prepared, stay safe, and stay strong. Welcome back, my friends. Third and final segment of this, the first hour of the Todd Huff Show. I want to just wrap up here a little bit about what we're talking about, what to expect tonight, and I want to lead into what I want to talk about at the beginning of next hour, which will be tariffs. Oh, yes, my friends, we're going to talk about tariffs, but we're not going to make it boring. I know that can sound boring, but this is relevant to what is going on in our politics today, and it's all over the place, especially now with the United States and Canada, and Mexico and China in this a bit of a tit-for-tat tariff contest right now. So I want to talk about that, and I want to get to, it's not going to be this segment, it's going to be at the top of the next hour, but why are conservatives, why would someone like myself be more understanding about these tariffs and what's happening there than with what Biden and the previous administration did with inflation? And it's not because, I'm telling you, it's not because the guy in the White House was not on my team in 2020 or 2021 in the previous administration, and the guy in the White House is now on my team. There's legitimate reasons for those who want to hear, for those who want to understand. I am here to explain that, but That's going to have to come next hour because I've got to kind of set us up to get there, because there's going to be a little bit of trash talking tonight, as Trump does. And I don't mean that in some sort of derogatory way. You know, again, nuance and context is important to understand. And I think in order to understand why people get excited over Trump's, some of the things he says, I think you have to understand what we've been through, what we've witnessed, what we've endured over the past several decades to get us to this point. I remember, and I've said this on this program before, back in 2016, when there were 16 people on the Republican primary debate stage, or at least vying for the debate stage. Trump was the 17th, if memory serves me. But there were 16 politicians and Donald J. Trump. And at that time, I remember doing an episode where I said things about every Republican nominee something that I liked about them, because I could find the one I couldn't find something I liked about was John Kasich. And if I did, it was very, very, it wasn't very deep if I did. But there were a lot of things to like about a lot of those candidates. I'm reminded of Bobby Jindal. I'm reminded of Marco Rubio. I'm reminded of Ted Cruz. There were Ben Carson, a lot of people on that debate stage that there were lots of good things about them as individuals, as potential leaders of the conservative movement of the Republican Party. But I concluded that there were two core, very necessary things that we needed in the leader of the Republican Party. Forget about the Republican Party. Folks, I know some of you think I'm just this diehard Republican. I'm really not. I hold my nose a lot. I'm telling you, I do. I hold my nose a lot when I vote for some of these folks. I did not hold my nose when I voted for Trump. I was enthusiastic about it because of what I'm about to tell you. There are two things that has been lacking up until Trump. And with Trump came the introduction of other candidates that this now applies to as well, which is a good thing. But Republicans often would elect, or let's just say the choices of candidates we were given, for those of us who are conservative, we found they had one or two weaknesses. They were not strong in both of these areas. They either were not ideologically conservative, or they were wimps. And so we needed someone who had the toughness. We needed someone who had the principle. And candidly, as I thought this through at the time and even to this day, I think the most important attribute that a president can have is the tenacity, is the willingness to fight. Because we're talking about things on such a fundamental level that need to be done. I wouldn't even necessarily call a lot of this ideologically conservative. It is, but it's so basic and so rooted in everyday average common sense that it doesn't require a deep intellectual adherence to conservative principles to know that we have a spending problem. We have a taxing problem. It doesn't take some great understanding of the Constitution, of how this country was founded, to realize that we have a bloated, inefficient, and out of control government. And so when we were looking for someone in 2016, we found the right guy with Donald J. Trump, and he set a new course, and he inspired people that had witnessed time and time again, conservatives, Republicans losing battles, even when they had public support. Even when they had people willing in the trenches, in the base, to fight for them, they were not able to get political victories because they didn't have the strength of resolve, the tenacity necessary to see these things through. The toughness, the simple toughness. And along comes this guy named Donald J. Trump, and he changes all of that dramatically and instantaneously. And so that's what you can expect to see a little bit more of tonight on that. It's not the State of the Union address, but it is for all practical purposes. A little bit of trash talking about tariffs, which we'll get to next hour, talking about Ukraine, talking about ending wokeness, talking about ending DEI, all of that sort of stuff. The accomplishments and also what he plans to do moving forward. I can't wait. I hope you're looking forward to it as well. We'll talk about it tomorrow, but I got to go. SDG.
Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast and increase your financial wisdom. You will find episodes about investments, the infinite banking concept, how to fight inflation, the financial side of retirement, and financial questions Jesse asked his girlfriend. Listen to the Wealth Talks podcast on any podcast platform or watch it on YouTube. There are new episodes of the Wealth Talks podcast weekly. Search for Wealth Talks podcast online and subscribe for free.
My friends, do you smoke, vape, or chew tobacco? If so, Knick Knack Naturals is here to help you crush your vice. Knick Knacks are nicotine mints that completely dissolve in your mouth. No smoke, no spit, no mess. This product is only for folks currently using nicotine products who are looking for a better alternative. Visit knickknack.com and use promo code Todd to save 15%. That's NICNAC, knickknack.com, promo code Todd.